All right. Excuse me. First time I'm really talking this morning. So, anybody who's here, welcome. Today we're going to be working with depth inside of After Effects. So, before we do that, I want to make note. Let me see. Yeah, nobody in the chat right now, looks like. But, hey, you know, say hi in the chat if you like. I say hi back. Yeah, so I want to make note of a new course that was released yesterday on LinkedIn Learning, formerly lynda.com. And it's all around interactive motion graphics, or infographics. So, using Animate, being able to do stuff with infographics, animated infographics, and making them interactive, which is fun. And you can get to any of my courses on lynda.com or at LinkedIn Learning from j.lebrecht.me/courses. So, yeah, I'm happy. This is the first, my first release with them this year in 2021. I recorded it, I don't know, probably like a month and a half, 2 months ago. And it's nice to see that it's finally out. So fun stuff. All right. So today, After Effects. And what we're going to do is, I've already got a composition created right here. We're just going to start from scratch with some assets. And we're going to create some cool depth-based design work. So I've got my little AEP here, my After Effects project. I've got this background image from Adobe Stock. I grabbed it from the free library at Adobe Stock, which is really nice to have access to. And then I've got the logo of my little company, Fractured Vision Media. So what I'm going to do is pull both of these just into my project bin. And because I'm grabbing an Illustrator file here, it's asking me, do I want to bring this in as footage or as a comp? And, if I do comp, do I want layer size, document size? I'm just bringing it in as footage, and I'm just merging the layers, right? So I'm going to hit OK. And then it comes in as just a single AI file. So the first thing I want to do, obviously, is just kind of grab this and drag it into my layers. And as you can see, this is really, really big. I think it's actually like a 5,000 pixel wide image where I'm creating this comp at like 1280 by 720. So I obviously need to scale it. So let's twirl that down, transform, and let's scale that down. Here we go. Something like that. So that looks pretty good. And it's funny, After Effects, right? So I'm actually, as I've mentioned in other streams, I'm teaching like a condensed version of a semester-long course over like 14 days. We're almost done. Tomorrow's the last day. Tomorrow we take on Adobe Animate. But today we actually do Adobe After Effects. We create like a title sequence for an ongoing project. So it's been fun. It's tiring. It's a lot of work all at once for both me and the students. So it'll be nice when it's all over. So yeah, in the chat, let me know what you're all up to. Do you have any, summer projects? Are there any educators here? Higher ed or K-12? All right, here's my logo. Just grab that, pop it in as well. And as you can see, that's also coming in very, very large. So we'll just do some initial scaling on that. There we go. Now, of course, you could use, anything you want in here. It doesn't have to be a logo. It could be, even a bitmap image. What's nice about having this as an Illustrator file, of course, is that it's, it's vector. So I can scale this thing up and down all over the place every day without end. And it just does it nice and crisp and smooth and so forth. So let's see, what do we want to do to this? So as mentioned, we're going to work with depth. And in order to do that, I'm going to need to do a couple things here. One thing I want to do is to give this actually some actual like extrusions inside of here. So right now it's an Illustrator file. And what I'm going to do is right click on here, and when you right click on something in After Effects, of course, you get a giant menu. What I'm going to do, let's see if I can remember where this is. I'm going to create and then create shapes from vector layer. So because this is from Illustrator and it's all vectors, none of this is bitmap. I can create shapes directly from my vectors, my vector layer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And what happens, you can see that it looks a little bit different because it's got all the outlines all over it. It's also made my original Illustrator file, it's made it disappear. Visibility's off. We can always turn it back on if we want, but this one here, outlines, this is what we want to work with as a basic shape layer. And right now we've got contents and transform. And in contents, that's pretty much like what came over from Illustrator. So I've got 3 different groups, and those various groups have different paths. So this is all just vector data. And I can disable these different groups and see exactly what they are, right? So pretty cool. I have full control over this thing now, just like I would have inside of Illustrator. But I want to work with depth. And to work with depth, I'm going to need to do some different stuff. So the first thing I want to do is actually change my renderer. So right now inside of my outlines, I've got contents and I have transform properties. What I'm going to do is select my composition and go to my composition settings, because right now we are using for the 3D renderer. Oh, we actually are using Cinema 4D. Cool. I don't even have to switch it then. So we got Cinema 4D going already, and yeah. So let's actually turn on our 3D capabilities here for this object. So we do that with this little switch right here, 3D layer. Allows this layer to be manipulated in 3 dimensions. And there we go. It has now been activated. And if you look here, we now have 2 additional little categories in our properties here. We have geometry options and we have material options. These are both really cool things to have. We're not going to actually change anything just yet in there though, because I also need to add a light. So when you add a light inside of a comp in After Effects and it's shining on 3D elements, even though this doesn't look 3D yet, it is. The light is going to make that a lot more apparent. So the way I'm going to add a light is just right click in the layers and say new, and we can create all sorts of new stuff in here. I'm going to create a new light. And we can name this whatever we want. Spotlight 1. For light type, I think a spotlight's going to work fine. We could also do point. Maybe point would work better. We can always play with this, see how it works. You got fall off, radius, fall off distance, whether it casts shadows or not. So yeah, absolutely I want to cast shadows. Let's put some smooth fall off too. All right, so it says right here, shadows are only cast from layers with cast shadows enabled to layers with accepts shadows enabled. So I might have to keep an eye on that. But anyway, if I hit go, you can see there's a bit of a change right there. It's not super apparent, but I've got my point light right here. I've got my light options, so we can change all of these as we go, but I'm going to bring the intensity up a bit. And actually, let's make some adjustments to where this light is positioned. There we go. So if I put it over on the side here, you can see it is casting the light at certain points. And I'm just moving this light around with the move tool, so nothing really fancy there. So how's everybody doing in the chat? Very quiet today. I know sometimes the chat breaks, so hopefully the chat isn't broken today. But yeah, say hi. I appreciate anybody who comes and hangs out live. And there we are. So this looks a little more 3D now, right? Just because it's got that light being cast on it. So in terms of the light options, let's collapse that. And there are transform options too, but those are just the properties that I was messing with this little gizmo up here. I love that Adobe added these little gizmos for 3D stuff. It's like such a great thing to have. But I'm gonna go into my outlines here and my geometry options. And we can see here we've got bevel style, we've got bevel depth, whole bevel depth, and extrusion depth. Inside of material options, notice we have cast shadows. So we saw that note when we added the light. And I'm definitely going to turn that on, because why not cast shadows, right? Let's see what else we got here. So different things about reflections, intensity, diffusion. But I really want to look at my extrusion depth. Right now it's at 0. So of course we can't really see what's going on here. Let's pull that up a bit. So 0, let's take it to 50. All right, so you still can't really tell because we're just looking at it straight on. However, if I actually go in and do 2 views here, so we can see side by side. And this view is top right now. We want to switch that view to, I don't know. Well, top's fine. It's fine. I can't really tell though. It's really hard to tell what's actually going on here. Maybe if I zoom in a bit. And let's pan across just to sort of see. So you can see the depth here is 50. Let's bring it up more. So that's like 155. Let's put a little bit of bevel on there too. And really we're just playing with it. We'll see what it actually looks like in a bit. But there we are for now. Let's go back to our single view. And of course, now if we click on this fellow, we can rotate it in 3D space, and it's much more apparent that we have a 3D object, right? It's got a little bit of bevel, but the extrusion depth is pretty good. I don't know if we can see the bevel exactly there. But we can apply some other things to this, right? So right now we've got this little point light right here. Let's add a different light. Let's add some more light in here. So I'm gonna create a new light. And this time, let's just do, I don't know, spotlight. And we can shift this around a little bit to position, and so forth. You can use either the gizmos up here. There we go. I just want it to be off to the side. Okay. It's warning me about that. Right on. So we got the two lights now. We have a spotlight and a point light. And I am going to show, if I disable both of these, you can see the effect that it has, right? So here's my spotlight. And here's my point light. So two different types of light. Let's lock them down. And let's also do something to our background. So right now I want it to be a bit darker, right? I don't want it to be as, and let's make it a 3D layer too. Why not? So let's see here. And as you can see, right now, this is actually cutting into the background because I made it a 3D layer and it's on the same plane, right, as my logo. So if we look at our two views again, we can see here is the background, this thin light right here, or this thin image right here, but the logo is kind of going behind it. So what we can do is select this object and just kind of send it back. We can also, of course, grab our logo and bring that forward. Oops. It's grabbing that guy again. So this is the point where I start locking stuff down. And I do this with animate too, right? It's like anything you're not using at any specific time, it often makes sense to do that. And my MacBook Pro fans are starting to really buzz here, so I am I'm setting those as well. Because, of course, you're doing stuff in After Effects in 3D with lights and so forth. It is going to make a big difference, right? So I need this to be far enough away that it's not like crazy. So I'm actually going to scale down its transform a little more. It's at 16% right now. So let's take it down to like 10%. There we go. And cool. Yeah, you can see it is taken some time to actually go through and you know, make adjustments to its position or its rendering as I'm moving this around. It takes a little bit of time to catch up in terms of the render, but the cool thing is, of course, this is vector once again, so you know, anything that I do, it's going to look really nice and clean. Okay, so let's go ahead and start thinking about some other effects that I can do on here. And I'm gonna say fit. And let's actually change this light a little bit, because I think these lights are simply a little too, I want this to be up more. There we go. Yeah, they're a little too close. At least that one is for sure. Do the same thing to our point light, just adjust its position. Pull it up here. Now you can see as we do this, as we pull these lights back, because I made the background a 3D layer as well, the background is also accepting the light and the shadows and so forth. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I don't have any actual motion on here yet. So let's do that. Let's create some motion. And what I'm thinking about doing is maybe I don't know, having it just sort of appear and sort of go off to the side and rotate while it does it, sort of thing, right? Hey, Chris, how are you this morning? Thanks for joining in. I'm just playing with After Effects today and 3D stuff, so. Yeah, something a little different from my usual. So let's see here. Let's twirl this down. And I just want to mess with, I don't know, transform options and so forth. Yeah, all good, Chris. It's just it's a busy day. Wednesdays are just busy for me because I have this scheduled, and you know, it's the end of school for my daughters and everything, so there's a lot of driving around and stuff, but it's cool. All right, so let's see here. Let's just pull down. I'm gonna have to deal with my scale. Or should I be dealing with, Actually, I mean, I could just do it with the camera. Let's just do it with the camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy, and I'm just gonna, I don't know, maybe just make him flip around a little bit. Something like that. Just a little bit, not crazy, right? Because it can be too much if you do stuff like that. So let's see. I've got my Y rotation here. Let's go ahead and turn on our Y rotation. And let's go to, I don't know, 10 seconds. Just go like that. Then we go back a little bit. Oops, and of course, oh, all right. So this always confuses me. So it's orientation, not Y position, or not Y rotation. So let's disable that. And, well, we can just undo. It's gonna work out. All right, so let's fix that. Orientation. Put the stopwatch on there. And actually, let's start it out. Like this. We'll go to 8. Send it sort of to the other side. 16. And then we'll have it like come to a rest, like right here. So I might have to tweak these keyframes here and there. But this is the idea. So now if we look at it, so it's going to take a little bit to render here, right? Hey, Reverb Mike, how are you today? So use a null. Instead of doing orientation, you mean like create a null and then change its rotation and apply it to this? It is crazy how absolutely slow a recent MacBook Pro can be. Absolutely insane. This is one of the reasons that I have my comp at 1280 by 720. But even then, dealing with this lighting and the 3D and everything, it's just not, you know. Let's have a look. See how this. Yeah, so you can see it's pretty good. At least so far. But we're also going to go through, and let's actually move this a little bit over here. Move this keyframe this way. Have those pretty much the same. And the idea here too is that we're going to, you know, have this sort of not be as fast as it goes through all this stuff, right? We'll just put a easy ease on all these, make it a little smoother. And of course that just blew away my whole render, but that's okay. I actually don't want to render it right now. Let's go down to a quarter. See how that works. Yeah, that's a bit quicker. Oh, there we go. So this is a feature I have not really used much before, Draft 3D. It's a newer feature in After Effects. And it's meant to make things a lot faster because, of course, you know, obviously, things... I mean, Adobe knows that things can be slow, right? So here's the idea. It just kind of wobbles back and forth. And what I'm going to do is pull out the camera as it does that. So you don't have to use a camera, like a dedicated camera anymore inside of After Effects. You can always use these tools up here to like change the, you know, how things appear with the camera. There's like a default camera now. However, I'm gonna actually insert a real camera here. So I'll create a new camera, and this is fine, 2 node. I don't really care that much. 50 millimeter, great. And there it is, we've got our camera. And for the camera, I want it to, just sort of dolly out. So we're gonna do like a zoom out on the scene. So let's see, we got zoom here. We got our transform properties. Let's figure out what we want. Let's grab our orbit tool. So you can see, you can orbit around here, and I'm trying to look and see. There it is. So point of interest and position change when we do that. I'm gonna just undo so I can get to a good spot. And I'm not going to orbit very much, but I might kind of like move it around a little bit for some interest, right? So let's, let's go ahead and I'm gonna turn Draft 3D off because it makes my comp look like garbage, right? So let's turn that off. I don't need it right now. And oh, interesting. Maybe I should try some of this out too. There's so many different things that, like, you know, After Effects is so deep. All right, so cool. Let's go ahead and set up our point of interest, position, 2 keyframes there. I'm, again, basically gonna just go out until we rest right here. So I can use those additional keyframes on my outlines layer to see sort of when it should stop, somewhere around there. I want it to stop wobbling before I kind of hold the camera, right? So let's grab our dolly tool here. And inside here, we're just going to have that be sort of our final spot. And then way over here, I'm going to want to dolly in on those original keyframes. So then as the camera goes, let's put it in draft 3D again. And yeah, I don't need to see that. So it's going to, you know, it doesn't look quite centered, does it? Let's change this a little bit to center it. It's not quite centered. However, it's not something I really want to change too much. So let's actually change the position here. So we got X, we got Y, so I'm gonna have to deal with X, right? Yeah, there we go. Let's put that towards the center some more. Yeah, that looks more centered. For sure. Right on. Okay, so let's have a look here. I've got that going on. Let's add some additional effects to my... I don't know, maybe I'll just create a solid. I want some kind of like smoky kind of thing going on here. Let's lock everything down. I think in terms of the 3D stuff, that's all good. Let's go ahead and create a new solid. So new solid. And yeah, let's make it gray. Gray solid. Dark gray solid. Cool. And for the dark gray solid, let's go up into our effects. And here's the tricky bit, right? Is generating different effects. Fractals, maybe. And you know, I mean, there's a bunch of like effect presets too, which might work out. Because it usually like packages a bunch of stuff together, you know, and then you can just tweak it and remove things from there. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go into our effects and presets. And they might even have something for like fog, mist, something like that. Let's look at fog. Fog lights, foggy, fog 3D. That might be fun, but I don't know if I really want to add another like 3D effect to something, right? And of course, one of the things is like, like I never, there's so many different effects and things that like I've never played with. And we can see right here, like obviously I've never used Fog 3D before, and that's not really working out very well. Let's check Mist. Nothing from Mist. Let's look in our animation presets then. We've got some backgrounds that might work. Synthetics. Smoke drifting. Let's give that a shot. Looks a bit like garbage, but I don't know. Might be okay. We just gotta tweak some of this stuff. Yeah, Reverb Mike, I would go to gravitate toward particle systems, but I've got another project that's going to be dedicated to particle systems. So I want to stay away from them. But yeah, that's what I would initially do too, is generate some cool stuff. I'm gonna have a whole lesson on like subtle particle motion inside of After Effects. I can't remember when that is because I've got it scheduled. It's on my schedule somewhere. Let's bring up the schedule and have a look. If I can find my Behance profile, there it is. Boop. All right. And if I go to work, I got my streaming schedule here, which I'm doing my best to adhere to. So today we're doing designing logo animation with depth. Next week, textured graphic effects. It's going to be using Photoshop. And I know I got it somewhere. Ah, there we go. So July 28th, actually. Wednesday, July 28th, subtle particle system composition. So cool. Yeah, no, I love playing with particles too. It's like super fun. And you know, they can look really janky or they can look like super nice, right? I wonder actually, let's see here. I want to change these colors for sure. That looks terrible. And then maybe I'll just put a blend mode on there and see how it looks. Change the opacity, so forth. See, this is gonna look a bit better. Actually, it looks pretty cool once you start playing with it. And I could put some blur on here too, actually. Let's collapse these guys here. And go into my effects, blur and sharpen. And let's do just a simple Gaussian blur. Pop it on there at the end. And we'll just increase that blurriness. Yeah, okay. And at this point, I just want to play with some blend modes. So, oh, actually, let's move these keyframes a bit. So here we've got some stuff happening, right? We've got our transforms. We've got keyframe for the evolution. Let's just pull these guys out a little more. Something like 12 seconds. And I'm also going to change my my general opacity for the whole thing. So instead of effects, we'll go to transform and opacity. Tick that fellow on. We're going to keep it fully opaque for a bit. So insert the keyframe there, and then we're going to kind of go out and whoop, to 0. So there we go. It's going to just fade out as the camera does its thing, right? And that's interesting. So I'm not going to make that 3D. I'm just going to put a blend mode on this. So you can see there's no blend modes here. So what I need to do is toggle my switches to modes and then go ahead and do that. So let's see what we have here. Dancing Dissolve is sometimes fun. It's not doing anything here. Let's try something else. I wonder if I actually have to make this 3D in order for it to interact with the 3D layers.
These are only the echoes.
Let's pull that out. pretty cool, actually. All right, so let's see about switching. Oops, where did my... Oh, I can't use blend modes anymore because it's 3D. Well, that's all right. So let's, we should have some additional stuff in here to change. So I can always change my actual opacity inside of here as well. Oh, transform, there it is. So we're still at 100. Let's move it to something like that. I'll delete that keyframe altogether. It's too slow. You know, at this point too, I'm like not even liking this blur. Not liking it very much. Let's do a little easy ease on here. Oops. Yeah, maybe the opacity change there is going to do something better for me. Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny the amount of stuff that you can load up inside of the effect controls, inside of After Effects here. Just have a look at swirly. That's pretty cool too. I'm gonna keep it like I had it, I guess. Turbulent smooth, maybe. Let's see how that is. Now, what's interesting is, like, you can hardly tell that the camera's moving anymore. And maybe it would look better when we actually render the thing, but let's go ahead and set this to actually render. I'm gonna say it's good. Hey, Juiced, how are you? I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Welcome from London, normally from Amsterdam, yes. I hope you're well today. All right, I'm gonna turn Draft 3D off. And, oh, let's have a look at our preview here. Let's set this guy to actually preview, to render. I don't have any audio, so I'm not going to include audio in the render, obviously. Or I could just output it. I kind of want to see what it looks like. Let's set the preview resolution way down to 1/4 and just see kind of like... Yeah, it's going to take a long time to preview it. But so I might not actually. I mean, we'll have a look. I'll let this preview. I'll let it render here, and then you know, afterwards, after I end the stream, then I will simply just upload it as a project, right? And we can see how it works. But it seems to be pretty good. Oh, you know what? Darn it. I just realized I've got my dark gray solid like all the way up here. I guess it probably doesn't matter though, because the 3D stuff is going to override everything. But it's funny, I've got so much stuff going on. Oh, you know what? Silly me, I wanted to actually change the camera too. I forgot about this part. So there was something else I wanted to do with the camera. And that was, when it starts, I want it to be sort of over here, right? And then eventually it comes up here. So let's see. Let's go over here. I'm going to just use the orbit tool right here. Maybe something like that. So it's going to come in like this. And then eventually settle in right there. Let's put on draft 3D just to, yeah, so there we go. And maybe it'll swing in a little better here. Let's kind of take that like this. So basically the camera swings in from the side and then it kind of just pulls back and steadies itself. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Well, that's what we'll do. So what I'm going to do now is, yeah, we got draft 3D on here, which that's really the only way we're going to be able to effectively see what we have happening here. What I'm going to do is simply just render the thing, and let's put motion on too, and yeah, let's see how it looks in draft 3D anyway. So that is that. And if we go to specific points, we can see how crisp and clean it actually is rendered at full. .3D here. And you know, darn it, I'm not digging. I created this stupid effect, right? But it's not doing it for me. This looks so much cleaner that I think we'll just do it like that. It just looks so much cleaner. Forget the fog. I still feel as though this can scooch over a little bit though. This will be the last thing that I do, and then I will render it. Oh, let's see. Contents, transform. Yeah, transform. II. And oh, that's right, that's that. I don't want to mess with that. Oh, position is what I was messing with last time. Yeah. Just put it over just a tiny little bit. And then as we go through, yeah, that's pretty centered. Cool. I could always turn on some grids, I suppose, right? Yeah, so that's the center right there. Perfect. Right on. So there we go. There is my little logo. And he's dancing. My dancing logo. How wonderful. So cool. I'm going to set this to render. So, let's see here. If I go to File, and I want to export, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my Adobe Media Encoder queue. And apparently I haven't run Adobe Media Encoder since the last update because it's got to verify through macOS here. And it's going to pop up somewhere. Who knows if it's this screen or that screen. Here it comes. All right. So here it comes, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not going to bore everyone with a rendering, as I said, but I'll post this up after we are finished here. And, gosh, it's taking a while to pop up. Unfortunately. All right. Well, I'll take care of this on my own time. For those that are here still, thank you for joining. So Chris, Reverb Mike, Juiced, thank you if you're still here. And anybody who's watching the replay, hey, thanks for watching the replay too. All right. Well, until next week when we talk about... Oh, there it goes. Just popped up. Sweet. Next week, we'll talk about Photoshop and doing textures and things like that. All right. See you all.